The thing about the buses in Guatemala City is that if you're under 10 years of age, it's inevitable. The second you step into one, you're gonna need to pee. I'm serious. This is how it works. On the sidewalk, you could be perfectly fine. 1 foot in and your bladder is bursting. This is why the day I left Guatemala, when I was 9, was so special. I got to ride in the back of a friend's pickup truck to the airport. And I felt like British royalty. Like I could wave at the common man as I passed him. Oh, look, a bus. Peasants. Because I was headed to the United States of America. And to a 9-year-old Guatemalan boy, that means 3 things. Number 1, $5 Ninja Turtle action figures. Number 2, an entire nation that from sea to shining sea looks like the set of the Wonder Years. And number 3, that before I died, I would own a Nintendo. So, before I go on, you need to know about my Uncle Willie. My Uncle Willie was the veterinarian in residence at a caiman farm. Caimans, you know what those are? They're like the cousins of alligators. They can be up to 12 feet long. You know, big chompers. And he did for them what any veterinarian would do. Give them shots with humongous hypodermic needles or take out their bad teeth. I want you to picture that for me. He's taking out a caiman's bad tooth. Badass. That's Uncle Willie. He lived on this farm for about a year with other farm hands, and everyone had their own little bungalow. One night, one of the farm hands got drunk, and his wife kicked him out of the bungalow. And so he's wandering through the property now, a little tipsy, a little off, and boom, he falls into one of the lagoons with caimans in them. And there's a splash, and there's a struggle, and miraculously he manages to get out of the water. And when he looks for his left hand, it is gone. So he runs back to his place, knocks with his good hand, shows his wife what is going on. She screams her head off, and they go searching for my uncle, who's the closest thing they had to a doctor nearby, so he could stop the bleeding. Now, they knew which caiman had bitten off this man's hand because they had assigned lagoons for these caimans. Okay, they knew who was swimming where. And so about a year later, that caiman was slaughtered, as happens on a caiman farm. They're raised for their skin. And long story short, my Uncle Willie has that caiman's cranium sitting on his bookshelf. He calls it manitas. It means little hands. That's who I'm talking about here, Uncle Willie. Uncle Willie was at the airport the day we left. And he was uncharacteristically somber. And that threw me off because he's a clown. And I remember he got down on one knee to give me this hug that has just followed me for the rest of my life. He cradled my head with his hand, and he pressed his cheek against mine. And on my cheek, I could feel his tears. That's when I realized something is happening here that I don't understand. Uncle Willie, Cayman Cranium Uncle Willie, is crying. It's taken me decades to see that this whole story I had going on about this wonderful journey to the United States was flawed. That day I was blinded by hope. I was so enthralled with where I was going that I could not see what I was leaving behind. a language that until the day I die is going to sound to me like the voice of my mother, a country I didn't know I loved, and a short, brown Indiana Jones that was the closest I'd ever had to a father. When I think about that day now, I wish I would have cried. I should have cried when your tear-stained cheek brushed mine, and the airport echoed wide. What I didn't know was goodbye. I should have cried when I walked aboard the plane and watched Guatemala fade, as if the clouds below were her grave. All I could see was what I'd won, a life of red and a white and blue. I didn't know that I was losing too, losing you. Oh, I should have cried. I should have cried, but sometimes pain takes years to bloom, till one quiet afternoon, when you're swallowed whole by old wounds. All I could see was what I'd won, a life of red and a white and blue. I didn't know that I was losing too, losing you. Oh, I should have cried. I should have cried. I should have cried. Oh, I should have cried.